Hello there, faithful viewers and listeners, and welcome back to the Hit or Miss Star Trek podcast for something a bit different that I thought I would try out. So bear with me if I'm still working out the bugs and things. But yeah, basically, if you follow me on social media, you will see that I had pre-ordered the Discovery A, the 32nd century refit of the USS Discovery by Eaglemoss. Apologies for the slightly washed out light, but this is the best unfortunately I was able to do. But yeah, I'm going to try and go through what this model is like and give my own little review. I would normally have done it on Twitter in sort of multiple threaded tweets and things anyway, so I thought why not try to make a video and then people can see for themselves, perhaps a little clearer in video form, what it's like. Yeah, so this is the box that it came with. Full disclosure, I have had this out of the box and I have put it on the display and sort of seen what it looks like, but I have put everything back in there as if you can see me kind of unboxing it so that I can imitate that and show you how it would come if you were to order this. It retails for, let's say 40 quid. It's $39.99, but you know, we're not going to quibble over the penny here and there. It's obviously the Discovery range. It's got the lovely, fantastic sort of pictures all around that you would get on the Discovery range boxes. I really do like the corner one with all of the ships from sort of Discovery, Picard and such. But yeah, so this is the one you get. Initial impression when this came was that the box was a little small for what I was expecting, which I'll go over a bit later on, particularly when I compare to another release. But yeah, that'll become hopefully clearer. So without further ado, I'm going to open this up on camera for the first time. First time on camera, not the first time I've opened it, and show you what it is that you get. So you open it up. The first thing you see, obviously, is the magazine that you always get with these things, USS Discovery, and it's listed as 1031-A, of course, and all of the specs and things. I will go over the magazine a little bit later on, but it's decent. It's not a load of pages, but I'll be honest, there's a couple of cool things in there that I really enjoyed seeing when I was flicking through, so stay tuned for that. You take off the first layer of the little polystyrene, and this is what you see on the inside, if my camera will allow you. Again, initial impressions, the main ship was a little bit smaller than I was expecting. In fairness, you can get an XL version of this, not right now, but it's available to pre-order, and this is the regular version. But as you'll see, the regular sized, well, the large version, but not the XL version of the original Discovery is still pretty significantly larger than this, so I was a little tad disappointed with how small it was. Not to say that it's tiny, it's by no means small, and there's obviously hard work that's gone into it. And yeah, so the elephant in the room, of course, is detached nacelles. We're in the 32nd century. We know that that's the gimmick, as it were, that the ships have, and that was the big thing with the Discovery A, was the detached nacelles, and how were Eaglemoss going to do that? And if you've seen kind of their social medias and the pre-order sites and things, you'll know that their solution to it was, at least in the case of the Discovery, these little clips that attach to the side of the ship to hold the nacelles in place. Yeah, before I comment on that, I'm going to actually construct the whole thing together. Because as I say, you can see what this kind of looks like here. And obviously it comes with the main bulk of the ship, the stand, and then the two nacelles are separate. They are obviously separated from the ship. So yeah, the main bulk of the ship is, to give it credit, pretty much entirely metal, die-cast metal, and it's pretty solid. As I say, not huge, but in fairness, the nacelles are super long and they're not on this yet. So maybe that's part of the reasoning behind why. And to give it credit where it's due, it's really well done. The Aztecing is really embedded in there, and they have the kind of the newer, if you can see it, the hexagonal deflector dish and the little, what I can only assume are either lights or they're part of the deflector or something, the kind of blue lights at the front of the Discovery A. I've got no idea what those are. But yeah, in terms of authenticity, you can see it's got the slightly more Enterprise D style neck. It's missing the struts, as it's supposed to be, which connect the inner and outer ring, because they were removed when the ship was refitted on the front here. And yeah, it has got the bits cut out of the drive section where the engines would normally attach. It's got little cutout parts there. Sorry about this lighting, it is horrendous, but if I move the box out of the way, maybe that will help. I think it's drawing a bit of focus. So yeah, so this is the main bulk, the main body of the Discovery A. Yeah, so as you can see, it's impressive in any other way apart from the size, but we'll pop this down for now and we will grab everything to show what it looks like kind of all put together. This is the stand. Obviously it says Discovery A on the bottom, and it's got the little place there where I can put the stand, which, just like the original one, will eventually slide into the back of the drive section of the ship to keep it in place. Although this one is actually, as you'll see, eventually on a slight slope, whereas the other one wasn't. So that's cool. And just before I attach them, this is the nacelle. I'll show just the one because, you know, they're the same. So this is what it looks like. It's light and it's flimsy. It's entirely plastic. I'm not going to lie. It's worrying for me, especially with these detached, because it does not feel particularly solid or bulky. But, you know, it's long, but not as long as the original Discovery, which, again, I think is one of the things that was done in universe in the show for the refit. And yeah, I mean, it's a nacelle. You can see it's got the advanced tech parts and things, I suppose. But yeah, it's not super impressive, if I'm brutally honest with you. So yeah, what we do then, I will pop the clips on. You'll see for yourself if you end up ordering this which way the clips are supposed to go on, which I am bound to get wrong because I think I have every time so far. But yeah, so bear with me. Which way is it? Oh, that's wrong. See, I've got it wrong every single time thus far. To be fair, though, the clips do only really go on in one way. Otherwise, you'll find you're kind of forcing them into a place they're not supposed to go. So there is that much, at least, in credit. And don't make the same mistake I did. It looks like the nacelles should go on that way, because the bulk of, I wish you could see this clearer, the bulk of the kind of effect and stuff and the little warp grills and stuff are all on this part, but that isn't the top of the nacelle, weirdly. It's the bottom, which I was not expecting. So you kind of have to put the nacelle into the little clip here, up what looks like upside down, but it isn't. And the best way I found to do it is to, instead of trying to clip it in, just push it in and then go until there's a little bit of resistance. Oops. And then, you see what I mean about these clips aren't the most secure thing in the world, because it just kind of wants to come out all the time. Yeah, it'll hold in place there once you get it, but it's not the most secure thing when you're actually first trying to put them in place. And yeah, it just never, as well, because I'm so sort of nerdy, finicky. I'm like, well, what length are they supposed to be? Do I check it up against, you know, where do the nacelles go to on the main body of the ship? Is this right? Is it? Are they now uneven and stuff? Because you're taking it, you're just eyeballing really what. But ultimately, you end up with this, which is far more impressive, and that's the ship herself, as it does appear. As you can see, these clips that hold the supposedly detached nacelles, I hate to say it, they are utterly and completely pointless. There's absolutely no way that anyone is under any illusions that this looks like these nacelles are free-floating. You can visibly see the clips. They make an awful lot of just mess that is in your face and in place here. And even when the ship's on the stand and stuff, it looks glorious, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't look like these are detached. You may as well have just detached them, because there's still something there, and it's not entirely see-through. And it's kind of like, part of me thinks, you know, 40 quid is a lot of money, particularly for a slightly smaller item than we've seen in the past. And I really do wish they'd done a little bit more than what seems like the absolute bare minimum to portray these detached nacelles, because, like I said, it's just pointless. This clip does absolutely nothing for the kind of, if you're like me and you're like in universe style, I want to see it almost look like they are free floating. It doesn't remotely. It just looks like somebody's damaged the nacelles and you've clipped them back to try and make it look like one piece again, but it does still look like one piece. It doesn't look like, you know, like if you see it on the show, it really clearly visibly looks like 3 separate pieces, the bulk of the ship, then the 2 nacelles, and you don't really get that sense, except, I will say, the front view, there's a little bit of that because of the way that the nacelles sit in the clips. You can't see them as pronounced. So it does look a little bit kind of free floating in that regard, but that's one angle out of multiple. And on the rest, it just looks like they're connected. They may as well have been, to be perfectly honest. Now, this is a thing which I've seen. Well, I've pre-ordered the Voyager J, but I've also seen the pre-order art and stuff, and I've seen the clips on that one look a lot better. For some reason, it looks like they are really just smaller and less attaching to the bulk of the ship so that you can just see them there. So maybe this is just something that the Discovery A, by virtue of its design, will have going against it that other ships might not. But yeah, I mean, they tried, and I will say, you know, is it better than having them attached? I mean, it depends really. If you're a sort of model collector type, finicky type person like me, I almost wish they had just kept them attached, because the ship attaches the nacelles to go to spore jump anyway. So it wouldn't have been, it's not like there isn't a precedent in show for having them attached anyway, you know? So yeah, I just wish I don't know how you would have done it, and I understand this is absolutely the most efficient and the best way, and definitely the most cost effective even at that kind of price point. But yeah, anyway, so there she is anyway on her stand, and you can see what I'm talking about with the angle. It looks like she's kind of flying upwards, which is cool for display purposes, excuse me, but I don't love in the regard that it never really flies like that in the show. It always seems like it's way more sort of level when it's going to spore drive or flying through or whatever in all the scenes we've seen, or at Starfleet headquarters or whatever. But yeah, it looks good though when you're displaying it, so fair play to them. Yeah, I'll do a quick comparison now. This is the Discovery A, and if I bring in now the original Discovery before the 32nd century upgrades, you can see there the significant difference in sizes between the two of them. And just to clarify, this is not the XL of the Discovery original. This is just the regular release large size. So you can get one that's even bigger than this. And this thing is gorgeous. It's bulky. It has weight to it. It feels heavy, like really quite heavy. It feels chunky. And it's probably one of, if not my actual favorite ship of the Eaglemoss line. Even the nacelles are quite heavy metal, unlike these ones, which are kind of flimsy plastic, except at the back, I will say, because they're quite long, so it goes to flimsy plastic. But, you know, if you take care of it, that's kind of a good thing. But, I mean, look at that. It's gorgeous. They've done such a really good job on the original one. And I will say it's a shame because it does put the newer one absolutely to shame. It's because they've already got this one in the range and it looks cooler. And yeah, if you don't have either of these and you were just wanting a Discovery for kind of display purposes and you don't mind which and you don't want to necessarily be current, I can't recommend the new one over the original configuration. It's just, this one is so much better and so much more. I mean, for one thing, it's pretty much exactly the same price as well. I think it may be 10 quid more than this one originally, but pretty much you can get it for cheaper in sales and things. And although I'm sure you probably will with all of them, but yeah, this one is just orders of magnitude better than the 1031-A, but with the exception that obviously it's the older ship and now it's not the one they're using in the show in universe. So again, you know, being a nerd, part of me was like, this had pride of place on my coffee table, which I'm using currently to display all these things. And I used to look at it and enjoy it, but now I'm watching new episodes of Discovery. I'm look to it and I'm like, yeah, it's like their ship, but that's not what it looks like now. And credit where it's due, now that I have the 1031-A, I will be able to kind of look down and think, yeah, I have the ship they're using. That one on TV is what's here in front of me. And, you know, we're all nerds. There's a little bit of us that wants that, isn't there? So, so credit for that. And lest you think I'm just being entirely, you know, really unfair and harsh, as I said, I've got lots that I can praise about this as well, which, as I said, the actual bulk of it, the main drive section, is still really sturdy metal, and it's very, very well crafted. The Aztecing and, as I've mentioned already, the little hints and bits and pieces, there's been effort put in there. You can see that. And like the original, it still has the shuttle bay at the back with the closed door, the couple of impulse engines. It does have the registry on, and I will say credit, they got the registry right. Unfortunately, it's really hard to see in the middle of the Aztecing and stuff on the saucer section here, which is unfortunate. But, you know, I've seen, you know, wrong insignias and misspelt words on shuttles and things, so I'm always a little bit feared they're not going to get this exactly right. And nope, they did. USS Discovery, NCC-1031-A, all correct. It's on the top of the saucer and on the bottom. But that's really the only, I mean, this is not Eaglemoss's fault. This is the way the thing's designed, but this is the only signifiers, I guess, that are anywhere on the ship that indicate it's a Starfleet or a Federation ship. It doesn't really have pennants as such anywhere, and it doesn't have anything else written on. And the original one did actually have Discovery in slightly smaller writing above the shuttle bay, which this now doesn't have. But, you know, it's again, it's screen accurate. So what do you want? And I will say, I think the saucer section on this one, or saucer sections, if you like, is probably a bit sturdier than on the original, although it is smaller. So, yeah. But as I say, what this has going for it is the aesthetic and the look. And as I showed off the pictures on my Twitter, enough people were saying, she's gorgeous. She's a thing of beauty. I mean, people liked the redesign when it appeared in the show, myself included. And it's accurate. It's authentic. And if you are like me and you kind of want to have a moan about, well, I was expecting a bit bigger. Again, there is going to be an XL release, so maybe I should have waited rather than wanting to get in there. But I think I had just assumed that because the difference was so negligible when it came to the original Discovery, that this would be, you know, the same way. But again, it's 20 quid more expensive for the XL. And the more I sit with this, the more I think this is fine. There's nothing at all wrong with it, even when it comes to size. I think it was just the initial, what you build up in your head. And when it came to, I was expecting it to be the exact same dimensions as this beast, which obviously it isn't. But again, time moves on anyway as well. So who knows? Plus, as I said, there is the fact that I have the extra clips to show the detached nacelles, or try to. So, and again, credit, the nacelles, just like in the show, look completely different. They have no hint of 23rd century design like these ones had, or this daft Brian Fuller, everything's got to be boxy and flat idea. They are kind of 32nd century. They do have the blue lights at the bottom, which look like they should go at the top. So yeah, one last thing I wanted to do then was just some more size comparisons, so this is my USS Shenzhou, and this is an XL model. So as you see, if you can see this one next to an actual XL model, you can kind of see anyway there the difference. The XL is larger, but it's actually a little bit less significant than you might think in terms of, you know, the Discovery A being not an XL ship and the Shenzhou being an XL. Although I am proud of the Shenzhou. She's huge. She's awesome. Excuse me. So she's definitely an XL. But yeah, I also happen to have from the Discovery range the Europa, which is a non-XL, just a regular sized release, but they are already larger than the, excuse me, this little stand wants to fall out. They're larger than the regular kind of releases that you got in the magazines. There we go. Yeah, because of the way the ships are, I mean, this is almost entirely saucer section. So if you compared the saucers, obviously there's no comparison, but looking at them sat together scale-wise, I still think this is a bit small because, I mean, I know nothing. I'm not one of these people that's like, the sizing's all wrong. It should be this size and this size. But I would imagine the Discovery A compared to the Europa should be a fair bit bigger. It should be like the equivalent of, I don't know, a Constitution class to a Miranda class. And here, the Europa's giving it a run for its money, really, which it shouldn't be. But again, it's not the XL, so maybe I'm just being unfair with my moans. It's just, I think we were spoilt with the original Discovery release. And finally, to show, you know, in the interests of fairness, this is my Springfield class. And again, it's mainly saucer, but it has got some nacelles on. So that's to show that much as I complain, this is obviously way, way bigger than the original kind of around 15 quid release that you would get. So yeah, I mean, looking at that, having said that, I mean, you're comparing 15 quid on this one to 40 quid here. Is there 25 quid's worth of difference? That's debatable. And that's really up to you as the consumer. As I said, there's things you could recommend in both directions, I think. But to give you the final word then, as I said, this retails for around 40 quid. And if I was to say, should you rush out and buy this at that price? No, absolutely not. Am I sad that I bought it? No. I got it at a time when Eaglemoss were throwing excuse me, seasonal offers around Christmas time. So for like, even on pre-orders, you were getting 20% off and 30% off. So I ordered a whole bunch of stuff and got percentages off it. So this probably only would have wound up costing me around 28 to 30 quid, which I think is fairer. I think if you knock 10 bucks off the price of it, it's absolutely worth it, especially for the work that has gone in, which you can see. But yeah, if you're going to pay 40 quid and you don't have either one, I would pay the extra 10 even at full price and get the original Discovery, which is really a thing of beauty and which I strongly can recommend, this one. So, because that is just, it's such a good model and it looks good as like an ornament anywhere in your house, and it just looks and feels more substantial, even though there's been obviously less work put in when it came to the Aztecing in the design, because that's the way the ship was designed, so there is less of that. But I'm also kind of glad that I got this because, like I said, I'm a nerd and I want to be current, and I want to have the one that's currently in the show that I'm watching. So as much as I love this beauty, and I still definitely am keeping her, she's getting pride of place somewhere. She's not the one they're using right now, this original, which I can give you one last look at. There you go. So yeah, because they upgraded on the show, I was always going to want to upgrade my model, and she is beautiful, as everyone on my Twitter has said. You can kind of see the only real niggle I have is the size and, like I said, the clips. But you know, in the interest of fairness, I can't see how else you would do the detached nacelles without it costing an absolute fortune. So much as I don't love it, I also recognize they're in a bind and don't necessarily have any other way. And I would say this is better than nothing. I'm not sure it is. As I say, I would rather have had them attached nacelles almost, but again, that would be less authentic. Yeah, the part of me that wants the kind of authenticity whenever I was watching it on the screen would be annoyed, I think, if it didn't at least try to portray some kind of detached nacelles. But yeah, I mean, we already don't have a detachable saucer separated Enterprise D or a multi-vector assault mode Prometheus. So would it have been disastrous to have a future ship which can attach the nacelles for Spore Jump that still had a nacelles attached? Sorry. That's up to you. As I say, I like that it's there, and I like that they've tried it. I certainly have no issues with it, and I'm not going to do what I initially said I might, which is to glue the nacelles just on as if they were attached, not least because they're really flimsy plastic and it doesn't look like they would take very well anyway, and certainly they would never come off again. So yeah, so that's your Discovery A. So just as I promised, a quick look now, I'll put that to one side, into the book. Like I said, not a lot of pages. It's basically just, you know, initial specifications, how do you display it, etc. A few orthos of what it looks like. Although, again, it's gorgeous. It looks pretty, so you've got to get it for that. So it's lovely to have these pictures, even though the book isn't. It's a slightly smaller size than the ones you would get in kind of shop magazines, but it's good and it's great pictures. This is the thing I was talking about. I love that I have this, which is ideas for how they were going to upgrade Discovery that ultimately never made it to screen. And I really like some of these. I almost kind of wish they'd went with, where is it? There's a version somewhere, I can't remember if it's here or on a future page. There we go. This version at the top here, where it looks almost like one of the newer Constitution classes. I almost wish they'd went with that. But yeah, there's some really cool ideas. Some I'm glad they didn't go with, like this kind of, it's just a saucer or with bits that fly out of it and extend. I'm glad they didn't do that. But you can see the design process and the way that it's worked. This one, I think, would have been really cool and it looks futuristic, but I don't think it's better than what we got. What we got's great. So, and then, you know, what's coming next, future ships, etc. And a quick shot on the back. So I am going to head off. That's my review of the Discovery A from Eaglemoss. I would recommend people get it, but I would say maybe wait until there's a sale or an offer of some kind. And yeah, I do have pre-orders for the Voyager J and Cerritos, so I may be back with reviews of those as well. So stay tuned. Ultimately, as I said, the name of this is Hit or Miss Star Trek. This channel, is this a hit or a miss? I'm way more on the fence than I thought I was going to be. Initial disappointment was leaning towards a different way, but I have to say hit. It's a soft hit, whereas the original Discovery was a massive unqualified hit. This is a soft hit. for just the effort that's went into it and the fact that it exists so soon after it debuted in the show, and it's gorgeous design. So yeah, soft hit for me. And I'm glad I have it. It's great. And hopefully people can see how nice it looks. So there you go. So join me in future for any potential future ship reviews and for the second series of the podcast, which is coming soon. So stay tuned to social media for info on that. And in the meantime, remember, we are Starfleet. Live long.